So in this video, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I did an out the theater reaction video and review for the movie when I saw it, but this is going to be sort of my official review video right here. Just for warning, my main review is going to be spoiler free, no spoilers. But when I get to the end and I start talking about the mid-credit scene, that will have some spoilers up for it, so you have been warned. So this movie is a sequel to Venom from 2018. Just to give you a recap or my thoughts on the first one, I was not a big fan of the first movie. I thought writing-wise and pretty much in all areas, it was pretty sloppy when it came to the writing, development, sort of motivations, all that kind of stuff. What a lot of people thought of it is what I thought of it. It was superhero filmmaking from 2005 with stuff like Fantastic Four, Daredevil, Ang Lee's Hulk, just stuff like that, where it's all like, okay, y'all kind of missed the mark on what superhero films are supposed to be these days. But the movie made a shit ton of money, and that's where we have the sequel coming, Let There Be Carnage. And to the sequel's credit, the trailers did look a lot better, to where I'm like, okay, I did have some expectations for it to at least be better than the first film. As the title of the movie suggests, this film introduces Carnage, one of the main sort of Spider-Man villain from the comics that a lot of people have wanted to see for a long time. So he enters things. We saw a tease of him and the mid-credits from the first movie with a really bad Ronald McDonald wig. But most of this movie sort of continues on focusing on Eddie and Venom, their relationship, and how they have to deal with a new threat, Cletus Cassidy, how he gets his symbiote, how he forms Carnage, and the maximum carnage that goes throughout New York throughout the movie. Director Andy Serkis, he's the new director that comes in after the guy who did Zombieland did the first movie, and he really does up the game in several key areas to make a much better film-going experience compared to the first movie. I think the core of the movie really comes down to Eddie and Venom. You know, it's actually, the movie is a pretty solid story of friendship between them. You know, we see that they're kind of like roomies, how they get along, how they don't get along, their fights, what motivates them to stay together. And it's actually a really cool story of sort of friendship between those two. And the humor that goes on is actually pretty funny. You know, to see the kind of situations that Venom gets himself into, going to parties, effing around with chickens, the banter between Eddie and Venom. It's all like, it was actually some really funny stuff to where you saw some of that humor get teased in the first film, but they never really committed to it. In this film, they really do commit to the humor, and it makes for a really entertaining sort of experience, just because the writing and some of the jokes, most of them really do hit. And I really did appreciate the humor that you got throughout the movie. It made for a pretty entertaining experience because most of the audience was laughing at all of the jokes, and almost pretty much the jokes have a good ratio in terms of hitting.
Either neither. Let's call the whole thing off. Ta-da! Catch up.
Excuse me?
Yummy.
Then you have Carnage himself, the main antagonist of the film. The first film was kind of weak in the villain department. You have Riot, but he didn't really make much of an impression. Carnage, like I said, is a villain from the comics that people have wanted to see from a very long time in live action. And Carnage, in terms of the actual Carnage persona, doesn't really disappoint. As his name suggests, he leaves just a trail of carnage in his path when Cletus Cassidy, played by Woody Harrelson, gets his symbiote. And then you just see a massive wave of just like his destruction, his crazy personality. The effects on Carnage look pretty cool. It was actually, it was done pretty well. His action sequences were great. The action sequences in general were really well done. There are some aspects about Carnage from sort of comics and media that I don't think they captured correctly, but overall Carnage as an antagonist didn't really disappoint, and he will leave a much better impression than Riot did from the first film. Other supporting characters are used pretty well. The main new one that's introduced is Shriek, played by Naomi Harris. And, you know, she has her own thing. She doesn't actually have a ton of dialogue when you really look at it throughout the movie. But overall, her presence wasn't all that bad. You have returning characters like Anne Wynn, Eddie's girlfriend. She has sort of a fun role and has more humor in the film, despite her first scene being kind of cringy. Overall, she's used pretty well throughout the film. And like I said, they do give her more fun stuff to do in this film. There's other new supporting characters like Pat Mulligan, Detective Mulligan or Officer Mulligan, whatever you call him. That's sort of a tease for a future character yet to come in the whole Venom saga. Overall, the supporting characters were pretty solid in this film, and overall they added to sort of the fun dynamic that was going on throughout the movie. Writing wise, though, is where things are still pretty basic for the film. You know, there's no deep motivations, there's no sort of deep character introspectives. All of the writing is on a pretty basic level. For this movie, that's not such a bad thing, but it is the thing that keeps the movie at being sort of just a fun movie instead of being a truly great one. Speaking of being fun, there's the PG-13 rating. I've always had a problem with these films being PG-13. I mean, you're talking about Venom. He's a dude who literally wants to eat people's heads and just rip them apart, and yet you're getting a PG-13 movie. That's not even to mention Carnage, a villain who his name is Carnage. He's a serial killer, and yet in a PG-13 movie, you don't get to see sort of the height of the destruction and chaos he can really do when it comes to causing deaths and stuff like that. I will say that I do push the limit for PG-13 in terms of the stuff you can get away with, in terms of the impalings, you know, seeing sort of, I guess, choking, decapitations on some level. They did push the limit, but I do think an R rating is where things could have really taken things up to another level and made this kind of like a really sort of memorable experience in terms of it just being like an just kind of fun one. But regardless, overall, I did have a pretty fun time with this movie. Like I said, I am no fan of the first Venom. I thought it was overall pretty lackluster. But this film, the new director, he did make a whole lot of improvements. I think they learned from the mistakes of the first film, bringing in the Carnage, playing up on the humor, really committing to the humor, and just really good chemistry between Eddie and Venom. Like I said, the heart of the movie comes down to that sort of their bromance and sort of their ups and downs. Overall, it's a pretty fun experience, so I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I actually did enjoy the movie quite a bit, and even had more fun at this movie than other Marvel movies I've seen this year, like Black Widow and Shang-Chi. I never thought I would say that, but hey, there you go. So those are my official thoughts on Venom, Let There Be Carnage right there. So now I will talk about the mid-credit scene, and obviously I will be talking about spoilers for that stuff, so you have been warned. So the mid-credits has been hyped up for a few weeks now. After they had the fan screenings a few weeks ago, that's what people were buzzing about, were the mid-credits. That's usually not a great sign when people are immediately pointing to the mid-credit scene, but I definitely was curious, so I stayed spoiler-free from it until I saw the movie. Then when I saw the movie, it's like, wow, yeah, that definitely is pretty interesting. So if you've seen the movie, you know that the movie ends with Eddie on the run, but he's sort of hiding out in the beach / taking a vacation. He's in his hotel room, and then sort of a weird, like, seismic kind of like universe parallel thing, just like wave just hits him to where apparently he gets transported into another universe. He looks at his TV, and then he sees that on the TV is J. Jonah Jameson revealing that scene from Spider-Man Far From Home, where he's revealing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and Eddie, or Venom, sees the TV, and he says, "That guy." Then he licks the TV as if he wants to like eat Spider-Man or something. That was the only thing that was kind of weird, is like, why does Venom hate Spider-Man right there? Does he have a thing against spiders? If so, they should have like set that up, because that would be an interesting thing. Like, he hates spiders, he sees a superhero that's themed after spiders, and he's like, okay, I want to eat that guy. Regardless, the whole big thing now is that Venom is now a part of sort of the regular Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe. All that is supposedly due to what we saw in the trailers of Spider-Man No Way Home, when Doctor Strange cast that spell. I guess just a whole bunch of like universe parallels are now connecting together into the regular Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, it's kind of cool now that we have Venom in sort of the regular Marvel Cinematic Universe. In all honesty, I don't mind that, just because you knew, I mean, it was coming eventually. We saw a hint of that in the Morbius trailer, when we saw that the Michael Keaton's Vulture was in that trailer. So like, okay, once Sony and Disney re-upped their deal in 2019, that was definitely something they definitely put in, that we can properly connect our regular Sony Spider-Man movies or our solo villain movies with the stuff done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I guess Disney had to sort of bite the bullet on that stuff. When it comes to Venom, actually it's kind of cool, just for the fact that I do actually like this version of Venom now, and now that if we can get him in a proper MCU film, Now we can see like what they can really do, and now we can finally see him and Spider-Man like go at it, and we'll see what kind of motivates them to go at it. But all of that should be pretty cool. I do think I saw a hint of that in Spider-Man No Way Home trailer when I saw like, is that Venom? So yeah, I guess that was Venom in the trailer that you saw right there. So the stuff now that's going on with Spider-Man in film, overall it is pretty exciting. So yeah, that mid-credits was definitely pretty interesting, and a nice tease of stuff yet to come. Hopefully we see a bunch of it in Spider-Man No Way Home. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the mid-credits right there. It's definitely pretty exciting stuff. I guess the hype was warranted. Something that was definitely we could see coming, but it is cool that we got to see it happen at the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I am curious why there's really been no trailers or no buzz for like Morbius, just because I think that's scheduled for early January now, or for next year. But oh well, we'll just have to wait and see on that one. So that'll do it with my review and thoughts of Venom Let There Be Carnage. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.